47% of America's top-selling protein powders tested over California's legal limit for lead. Not obscure brands, the top sellers, and the chocolate tubs? 4 times more lead than the vanilla ones. You're drinking this every single morning, before the gym, after the gym, in your kid's smoothie. I went through the lab report and the court filings. 7 tricks, 3 brands that actually test clean. Number 1 already cost one company $2.5 million. Here's what makes protein powder different from almost everything else in your kitchen. Nobody checks it before it hits the shelf. The Food and Drug Administration does not approve dietary supplements before they're sold. There's no federal limit for how much lead is allowed in a tub of protein. The company writes the label. The company decides what testing to do, and then it goes on the shelf next to the cereal. So in 2024 and 2025, a nonprofit called the Clean Label Project decided to actually test it. They bought 160 products from 70 of the best-selling brands. That's about 83% of the entire market. They sent them to an independent lab. Nearly 36,000 individual tests. What came back is the reason you're watching this. Let's start at number 7, the scoop that isn't one scoop. At number 7, the serving size. Look at the front of the tub, 30 grams of protein. Big number, big letters, that's why you bought it. Now turn it around and find the word serving size. On a lot of tubs, that 30 grams isn't one scoop, it's 2. Sometimes it's 2 rounded scoops, which is a phrase that means whatever the person scooping decides it means. So the tub that promised you 30 grams per serving is really giving you 15 per scoop, and the tub you thought would last 2 months lasts one. The label isn't lying. That's the part that gets people. It's technically accurate, it just isn't answering the question you thought you asked. Here's how you check it in about 4 seconds. Find the servings per container number. Multiply it by the grams of protein per serving. That's the total protein in the tub. Divide that by what you paid. Now you know your actual cost per gram, and you can compare 2 tubs honestly for the first time. Do that with 3 tubs at the store, and I promise you'll be surprised which one wins. That one costs you money. The next few cost you something else. Number 6, the organic halo. At number 6, assuming organic means cleaner. This is the one that genuinely shocked me because it's backwards from what almost everyone believes. According to the Clean Label Project's findings, the organic protein powders they tested averaged 3 times more lead than the non-organic ones, and twice as much cadmium, 3 times more, in the products that cost more and carry the label people trust most. Now here's why, and it makes complete sense once you hear it. Lead and cadmium aren't added by anybody. They're in the soil, volcanic rock, industrial runoff, old mining sites, certain fertilizers. Plants pull them up out of the ground along with everything else. The organic certification governs what farmers are allowed to spray. It says nothing at all about what's already in the dirt. So a certified organic pea protein grown in contaminated soil is certified organic and contaminated. Who does this hit hardest? The person buying organic specifically because they're being careful. Pregnant women, parents mixing it into a kid's breakfast, people with kidney issues who process cadmium the worst, the exact people paying the premium to avoid this. The organic seal is a farming standard. It was never a contamination test. Those are 2 completely different things, and the shelf doesn't tell you that. Number 5, plant-based heavier metals. At number 5, the plant-based upgrade. Same mechanism, bigger gap. In that same testing, plant-based protein powders showed roughly 3 times more lead than whey-based ones. Think about why that has to be true. Whey is filtered out of milk. It's 1 step removed from a cow that ate plants. Pea protein, rice protein, hemp protein, that's the plant itself, concentrated. Take a plant, strip away the water and the fiber and the starch, and you've concentrated everything that plant absorbed, including the metals. Rice protein is the one to watch closest. Rice is grown standing in water, and it's famously good at pulling arsenic and other metals up out of flooded soil. That's a known agricultural fact, not a theory about any one brand. I want to be careful here, because this is not me telling you to stop eating plants. Plenty of plant-based powders test clean. The point is narrower than that. Plant-based is a dietary choice, not a purity claim. The tub with the green leaf on it and the word clean in the product name has not been tested for anything unless it says so explicitly. If you're vegan or dairy intolerant, you're not stuck. You just have to check the certification instead of the marketing. I'll show you exactly what to look for later. Number 4, and this is the one I'd tell a friend about first. Why chocolate costs you more than money. At number 4, the flavor you almost certainly bought. Chocolate is the best-selling protein powder flavor in America. It's what most people reach for. It's what most people mix for their kids. In the Clean Label Project's testing, chocolate-flavored powders showed 4 times more lead than vanilla and up to 110 times more cadmium. 110 times! Read that again, because when I first saw the number, I assumed it was a typo. The explanation is cocoa. Cacao plants are unusually efficient at absorbing cadmium out of soil, and it concentrates in the bean. It's the same reason dark chocolate keeps showing up in heavy metal testing year after year. Cocoa carries it in, nobody added it. It came with the crop. Cadmium matters because of how it behaves in the body. It isn't something you flush out by the weekend. It accumulates over years, and it collects in the kidneys. That's why a daily habit matters more here than a one-time exposure. One chocolate shake is not the story. One chocolate shake every morning for 6 years is a different story. And the fix costs you nothing. It's a flavor. Buy vanilla, buy unflavored, and put a banana in it. That's it. That's the whole intervention. And if that one surprised you, wait until number 1, because that's the trick that a federal court put a price tag on. The Proprietary blend. At number 3, the words Proprietary blend. You'll see it on the ingredient panel, a blend name in bold, then a list of ingredients underneath it, then one single number for the whole group. Here's what that does. Ingredient panels are legally required to list things in order of quantity, most first. A proprietary blend keeps that order, but hides the amounts, so you learn the ranking and nothing else. A blend could be 95% the cheap ingredient and 5% the expensive one that's printed on the front of the tub. On the panel, those two look identical. The industry defends this as trade secret protection, and for a genuinely novel formula, there's an argument there. But whey protein is not a trade secret. It's been made the same way for decades. When a basic protein powder hides its ratios, ask yourself what exactly is being protected and from whom. The tell is simple. A company confident in what's in the tub prints the numbers, every gram listed separately. If you can't tell how much of the good stuff you're getting, assume you're getting the least amount that still lets them print the claim. Number 2, nobody is checking. At number 2, the assumption that someone already checked this. I said it at the top, but it belongs here as its own item because almost nobody knows it, and it explains everything else on this list. Dietary supplements in the United States are not approved by the Food and Drug Administration before they go on sale. That's not a loophole somebody found. That's the regulatory structure written into law in 1994. A company can formulate a protein powder, manufacture it, print a label, and ship it to stores without a single regulator seeing it first. The agency's power is mostly reactive. It can step in after there's a problem, after complaints, after somebody gets hurt. There is also no federal limit specifically for heavy metals in protein powder. That's why the Clean Label Project measured against California's Proposition 65 instead. It was the strictest clear pass-fail standard available in the country, and the supplement industry's trade group has pushed back on that report, arguing that Proposition 65 thresholds are far stricter than federal reference levels, and that the report didn't put that context in front of consumers. That's a fair criticism to know about, and you should factor it in. But notice what nobody disputes. The metals were there in measurable amounts in products from the best-selling brands in the country. The disagreement is about where to draw the line, not about whether the lead is in the tub. Which brings us to number 1, the protein that isn't protein. At number 1, paying for protein you never actually receive. The industry calls it amino-spiking, or protein spiking, or nitrogen spiking, same thing. Here's the mechanism, and it's clever in the worst possible way. Standard lab tests don't count protein directly. They measure nitrogen and then calculate protein from that number, because protein contains nitrogen in a predictable ratio. It's fast. It's cheap. It's been the standard for over a century. Now, individual free-form amino acids also contain nitrogen, so do compounds like glycine, taurine, and creatine, and those cost a fraction of what real whey costs. So a manufacturer can put 20 grams of actual whey in a scoop, add 10 grams of cheap glycine, run the standard test, and the machine reads 30 grams of protein. The label says 30 grams. It passes. Except glycine isn't going to build muscle. Your body makes it on its own. You paid whey prices for filler that happens to fool a nitrogen test. This isn't a theory, it's been litigated repeatedly. Court filings in one California class action allege that a product contains 60% less protein than advertised. Another set of complaints named products from major, recognizable supplement companies. And one of those cases ended in a $2.5 million settlement approved by a federal court with terms requiring the manufacturer to change its testing practices and stop counting amino acids, creatine, and other nitrogen-producing non-protein compounds toward its protein claims. Let me be precise, because it matters. Those cases were filed years ago, many were settled, formulas change, and a lawsuit is an allegation until a court says otherwise. I'm not telling you those specific tubs on the shelf today are spiked. I'm telling you the practice was widespread enough to generate a decade of litigation across multiple major brands, that it is technically legal under current labeling rules, and that nothing in the regulatory structure stops it from happening right now. And here's how you spot it yourself, tonight, without a lab. Turn the tub around, look at the ingredient list, not the protein number. If you see individual amino acids listed as separate ingredients, glycine, taurine, alanine, sometimes creatine, near the top of the list in a plain protein powder, that's the flag. A real whey protein needs whey. It does not need a shopping list of loose amino acids to hit its number. Alright, that's the bad news, and it's a lot of it. So let's talk about what actually works, because the fix here is genuinely simple, and it comes down to one idea. You don't need to trust the brand, you need to find the ones that paid someone else to check them, starting with Ascent. What matters here isn't the marketing, it's a logo on the tub that reads NSF Certified for Sport. That certification means an independent organization tested the actual product, not the recipe, the finished product, and audited the facility where it was made. It's the standard that professional sports leagues recognize for their athletes, which tells you how much scrutiny sits behind it. Ascent carries it, and they're widely available rather than niche or mail order only. That combination is rarer than it should be. If you take one thing from this whole video, it's that logo, not the brand name, the logo. At number 2, Thorne. Thorne runs one of the largest NSF certified for sport product lines on the market, and they're the nutritional supplement partner for United States national teams. Think about what that arrangement requires. Those athletes get drug tested. A contaminated batch doesn't just embarrass the company, it can end someone's career and trigger a lawsuit. That's a business where the incentive to test every batch is enormous and permanent. It costs more than the tub at the discount store. You are straightforwardly paying for the testing. Whether that's worth it is your call, but at least you know what the extra money is buying. And at number 1, Klean Athlete's Clean Isolate. I want to explain why this one is at the top, because it's not the flashiest product on this list. It's the opposite of flashy. Open the tub and there's no flavoring, no sweetener, no coloring. 20 grams of whey protein isolate per scoop and nothing else. Unflavored. It tastes like almost nothing, and that is entirely the point. Every one of those absent ingredients is a place something could have hidden. No chocolate means no cocoa, and no cocoa means the cadmium problem from number 4 simply doesn't apply. No proprietary blend means nothing to hide behind. No loose amino acids on the ingredient list means nothing padding the nitrogen count. And the whole line is third-party certified under NSF Certified for Sport. It's a product built by subtraction. Every decision was to take something out in a category where the entire game is adding cheap things that look expensive on a label. A company that competes by removing everything is making a statement about what it thinks the customer is actually buying. You can add a banana yourself. Here's what I keep coming back to after going through all of this. Nothing on this list was a secret. It's all printed on the tub. The serving size, the flavor, the ingredient order, the missing certification logo. Every single one of these tricks survives on the fact that nobody turns the container around. So here's your rule, and it takes about 10 seconds in the store. Turn the tub around. Look for a third-party certification logo. NSF Certified for Sport, or Informed Sport, or Clean Label Project Certified. If there's no logo from someone outside the company, then the only thing standing behind that product is the company that profits from selling it. Then scan the ingredient list for loose amino acids near the top. Then pick vanilla over chocolate. That's it. 3 checks, 10 seconds, and you filtered out most of what we just covered. And here's the thing about the certification logo. That same test applies to almost every supplement on that aisle. The multivitamin, the creatine, the greens powder in the expensive looking bag. Same regulatory gap, same missing oversight, same fix. That's the video on your screen right now.